I worked the night shift at an Amazon fulfillment center for 14 months. I won't say which one. There are enough of them that it doesn't matter, and honestly, after what I'm about to tell you, I'm not sure it would make a difference. The people I've spoken to since leaving say similar things happened at their sites too. You need to understand the scale of these buildings first. The one I worked at was over 1 million square feet, 4 floors, hundreds of thousands of shelving units packed so tightly together that in some sections you could barely walk through them side by side. At 3 in the morning, with the overhead lights dimmed to their lowest setting to save energy, which they did every night between 2 and 5, it was the kind of dark that felt physical, like something pressing against you. I ran picks on the 3rd floor. That means I walked a route through the shelving unit, scanning items and placing them into a cart. Same route, same section, every night. After a few weeks, I knew every corner of my zone by heart. I knew which shelves squeaked. I knew which lights flickered. I knew every sound the building made. That's why I noticed when something changed. It was a Wednesday night in November, about 4 months into the job. I was running my route in Section 3C when I heard footsteps behind me. Not unusual. Other pickers worked nearby. I didn't think anything of it. But the footsteps matched mine exactly. Every time I stepped, they stepped. Every time I stopped, they stopped. I turned around. Nobody was there, just the shelving unit stretching back into the dark. I told myself it was an echo. The building did strange things with sound, concrete floors, metal shelving, low ceilings in some sections. An echo made sense. I kept walking. The footsteps came back. This time, I didn't stop walking. I just slowed down slightly, and the footsteps slowed with me. I sped up slightly, and they sped up. I stopped dead, and half a second later, they stopped. Not an echo. Echoes don't have a delay. I spun around fast enough that if someone had been right behind me, I would have seen them. The aisle was empty, but at the far end, maybe 40 feet back, I caught the edge of something disappearing around the corner of a shelving unit. Just the very edge, dark clothing, gone in half a second. I reported it to my shift supervisor immediately. He sent someone to check the section. They found nobody. The floor access log showed only authorized workers on level 3 that night, and all of them were accounted for in their own zones. I requested a different section the next night. My supervisor said there were no other sections available, so I went back to 3C. The footsteps didn't come back that night or the night after. I started to relax. Then, 3 weeks later, I was running the same route when I noticed something on the shelf in front of me. An item had been placed facing outward. Every item in the fulfillment center is stored spine out or label out, whatever allows the barcode to be scanned fastest. It's a system. It never varies. This one item had been turned completely around, facing out toward the aisle, toward me. I scanned it out of reflex. The scan registered normally. I put it back the correct way and kept moving. 2 aisles later, another item turned to face the aisle. Then another and another. Every few shelves, one item turned outward all the way through my section. Like something had walked my route before me that night and left a trail. I handed in my notice the following week. 14 months, never went back. I still think about who or what was walking behind me in Section 3C, and I think about the fact that the access log said nobody else was up there. But somebody was, I know that. I heard them. This one is going to sound like I'm making it up. I'm not. I have 3 other co-workers who were there and will tell you the same thing. I worked in the returns processing department at a large fulfillment center on the East Coast. Returns processing is in the basement level of the building, a section the regular fulfillment workers call the pit. Nobody goes down there unless they work there. It's loud, it's poorly lit, it smells like cardboard and machine oil, and the conveyor belts run so loud you can't hear yourself think. We worked in pairs processing returned items, checking condition, repackaging, restocking, or disposing. My partner was a guy named Devon. We had been working together for about 6 weeks and we had a good rhythm going, fast, efficient, no problems. The night it happened, we were on a late shift, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. The pit at that hour was down to a skeleton crew, maybe 8 people total across the whole basement level. Around 1 in the morning, Devon went to the bathroom. I kept working. The conveyor belt in front of me was still running, items coming through at a steady pace. I processed 3 or 4 items, looked up to grab the next one, and saw a hand. Not a mannequin hand, not a glove. A hand, grey, motionless, riding the conveyor belt toward me from the darkness of the tunnel the belt emerged from. I jumped back so hard I knocked over my entire workstation. My supervisor came running, 2 other workers came over. We stopped the belt. The hand was still there, lying flat on the belt, fingers slightly curled upward. It was a prosthetic, a medical-grade prosthetic hand, still in its original packaging, or what was left of it. The packaging had been partially torn open. The item had been returned by a customer, processed at another facility, and somehow ended up on our belt. Everyone laughed, including me. Devon came back from the bathroom and we told him, and he laughed too. We repackaged it and sent it on. The belt started up again. We went back to work. 20 minutes later, Devon tapped me on the shoulder. He pointed at the belt. There is another one. Same grey prosthetic hand, different size, slightly larger, also partially out of its packaging, also riding the belt toward us from the darkness of the tunnel. Nobody laughed this time. Our supervisor checked the system. There was no record of a second prosthetic hand in that night's returns inventory. It shouldn't have been on our belt at all. Where it came from, nobody could explain. We finished the shift. I clocked out at 6 a.m. and drove home in complete silence. I transferred to a different department the following week. I still work there, but I haven't been back to the pit since. And I will never work a conveyor belt again. I need to say up front, I don't believe in the paranormal. I'm a practical person. I believe in what I can see, what I can measure, what I can explain. I'm telling this story not because I have an explanation for what happened, but because I've been trying to find one for 2 years, and I haven't. I was a stow associate at a fulfillment center in the Midwest. Stow means you take items from incoming inventory and place them into open shelving slots throughout the building. You scan the item, the system tells you which slot to put it in, you walk there, you stow it. Simple and repetitive, which is exactly why I liked it. No surprises. Aisle 49 was on the 2nd floor, far corner of the building. It was one of the longer aisles, maybe 60 feet from one end to the other. Nothing special about it. I stowed items there regularly. The first time it happened, I was about 30 feet into the aisle when I felt it. A pressure change, like the air in the aisle had shifted. The temperature dropped noticeably. Not a draft, not a vent, just a sudden cold that settled over a specific section of the aisle about 10 feet ahead of me. I stopped. I stood there for a moment. The cold stayed. I walked through it quickly and kept going. By the time I reached the end of the aisle, the temperature was normal again. I mentioned it to a co-worker that night. She said the building had bad insulation in some sections. Cold spots were common. I accepted that and forgot about it. The second time I was in aisle 49, about a week later, the cold was back. Same location, same sudden drop, same confined area of maybe 8 to 10 feet. But this time, I stopped inside it, and I heard something. It was faint enough that I thought at first it was the building, the ventilation system, the conveyor belts running on the floor below, the constant low hum of a building that never fully powers down. But it wasn't any of those things. It was breathing. Slow, steady, close enough to be in the aisle with me. I looked in both directions. The aisle was empty. I left immediately. I went to the bathroom and sat in a stall for 5 minutes, trying to calm down before going back out on the floor. The third time I was in aisle 49, I wasn't alone. I was working near a colleague named Patricia. She was in the adjacent aisle, close enough that we could talk over the shelving units. I hit the cold spot. I stopped. The breathing started. I said, "Patricia, can you hear that?" She went quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Hear what?" I said, "The breathing in this aisle. Can you hear it?" She was silent for a long time. Then she said, "I'm not coming into that aisle." I said, "Why?" She said, "Because I stopped going into aisle 49 3 months ago." I climbed over the shelving unit into her aisle. We finished our shift in the sections as far from aisle 49 as possible, and neither of us spoke about it again until we were in the parking lot at the end of the night. She told me that the first time she experienced it was on her 3rd week at the facility. She had told 2 other co-workers. Both of them had been in that aisle, and both of them said the same thing. The cold, the breathing, the feeling of not being alone. She said one of the co-workers, a man who had worked at the facility since it opened, told her something she couldn't verify. He said that years earlier, before the building was a fulfillment center, it was something else. He wouldn't say what. I put in for a transfer to a different fulfillment center 4 months later. Different city, fresh start, no aisle 49. My first week at the new facility, I was assigned to the 2nd floor stow team. My supervisor handed me my route sheet. I looked down at it. I was assigned to aisle 49. I stood there, in the middle of that warehouse, brand new building, completely different city, hundreds of miles away, and stared at that number for a very long time. I still haven't decided if it means something, but I haven't walked into that aisle yet, and I'm not sure I ever will. 3 warehouses, 3 night shifts, 3 people who went to work expecting nothing more than a long, quiet night on the floor. They got something else entirely. If something happened to you at work, something you couldn't explain, something you've never told anyone, we want to hear it. Send your story to the email in the description below. I'm Hollow Dark. Subscribe. New horror every week. And next time you track a package, think about who was in that warehouse at 3 in the morning, and what else was there with them.